I think the real magic in effective healthcare is in integrating everything. So there are times when Western medicine is really the right way to go. And I mean, the sort of the magic in healthcare is knowing what is going to be most effective at any given moment with any given condition. So that's really where sort of the art meets the science when it comes to medicine.
Yeah. And with supplements, is there something that parents should be aware of? Can they just give it to their dogs, or should they always consider their vet first?
Well, as I was saying, I mean, if you're going to give a supplement that is labeled for humans, I would absolutely very, very strongly suggest people consult with their veterinarian. As for supplements that are specifically made for dogs, I think those things, as a general rule, are going to be safer. I think it's always a good idea to keep your veterinarian in the loop, no matter what you're doing as far as your pet's healthcare goes. But that said, unless your pet has some sort of serious underlying medical condition that may make giving certain supplements or herbs problematic. Usually, if you're going to get a supplement labeled for pets, you can pretty much assume it's going to be safe.
Yep. And you did mention food just before, and I know this can be so divisive between vets. What kind of foods do you recommend to your patients?
So, I always recommend a fresh whole food diet. So, what I mean by that is we're trying to get pets away from highly processed foods like canned food and kibble. I mean, canned food and kibble carry with them all of the baggage that highly processed food for people does. We all know as people that the less processed food and the more fresh food we eat, the healthier we tend to be. It is no different for our pets, but unfortunately, that's just not really sort of the thought process for most people. And quite frankly, for a lot of veterinarians who feel like, well, just feed them a high quality kibble and everything's fine. And the truth of the matter is there's a difference between adequate nutrition and optimal nutrition, and that's really kind of what we're after is optimal nutrition, and you're just not going to get that from a highly processed food like canned or kibble. So whether or not the fresh food in question is cooked food, raw food, freeze dried fresh food, any of those can work. It's just a function of what works best for your pet. These diets do have to be appropriately balanced. If you're making a food at home, you do have to work off of a recipe that was balanced by a veterinary nutritionist, so you know that your pet's getting all the nutrition that they need. You can't really just put meat and vegetables in a bowl and call it good. Unfortunately, it's not that simple. But when we're talking about long-term health and wellness, we do need to make sure that our pets are getting all that nutrition that they need.
And long term, what are some of the benefits that you've seen in changing to a fresh food diet?
Oh, well, I think you see all kinds of benefits that range anywhere from more energy, less digestive issues, better skin, less achiness and soreness, just a dog that just wants to go out and acts like they did when they were younger. I think it's very easy to sort of dismiss the kind of effects that long term use of a substandard diet can have. And I can't tell you how many times in my career I've heard people say that all they did was switch to a fresh food diet and it's like a brand new dog. Like it is the lowest of low hanging fruit when it comes to pet care.
Yeah. So then owners that are looking at changing to a fresh food diet, what should they look for if they're going to go like pre-made?
Well, if they're going to go pre-made, what I would recommend that people look for is a reputable brand. Preferably something that not to knock this sort of the very local brands that kind of pop up here and there. And if people are able to do enough research to make sure that these local small businesses are actually making a really good quality product, then by all means give it. But realize like if it's a very local thing, then there's no guarantee that those companies are following all of the guidelines to make sure that these diets are both properly nutritionally balanced as well as safe from the standpoint of manufacturing. When we're talking about fresh food diets, particularly about raw food diets, there can be concerns about foodborne illness, and these are things that we need to be aware of. So if you're buying, a commercial product from a larger company, Generally speaking, these companies are doing a lot to make sure that these products are, properly balanced and free from foodborne pathogens. But as would be the case with anything, I would suggest that people do their due diligence. So do a little research, see if there's been, if the company's had a lot of recalls or there's been complaints. I would say, on the one hand, ask your veterinarian, but on the other hand, be prepared for your veterinarian to either, number one, not really know much about fresh food diets, or perhaps even worse, just blanketly warn you away from all of them because they want you to feed kibble or canned.